Hello, this is Litmus Freeman again with Andy Zen Pagan of the Dale on Holistic Radio, and we're back with another knowledge nugget. It's an extra one today. The scheduled one is tomorrow, but we're doing another special nugget with Jen Luscombe. How are you doing, Jen?
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm up and down, up and down.
Such is life, eh?
Yeah,
Discombobulated, but
yeah,
still in one piece.
yeah, yeah. I think.
Yeah, as far as we know. Well, I
Mhm.
can hear your voice, so that's a good sign.
Mhm. Mhm.
Today we're going to do part 5 of our special nuggets on the gene keys, um, which I've been talking with Jen about on these special nuggets. And today's a Saturn's day, so it's the 7th day of the 10-day deacon, um, and it's the 17th of Taurus in the UCC, which is what, Friday is it the 8th or something today of May, I think. Yeah. So let's get into it. So, Jen, we were chatting, the last time we've been using my Gene Keys profile as an example of how people can do this for themselves and looking at the gifts and the shadow sides and the cities of the different Gene Keys.
Yeah,
And the last sort of part 3 and part 4, we looked at the Venus sequence and the Pearl sequence. So I've learned a lot from you doing these special nuggets. And I was really intrigued by what you were telling me about a kind of unique take that you've got on using this this stuff to for our own self healing, right? So, do you want to share with us kind of what that is in this nugget?
yeah, yeah. There's like I think it's really powerful. There's a number of things. I think I'll share some info about the lines as well today. But the each gene key chapter, there's only about, I think it's about 7 pages long each chapter. There's a couple that are exceptions to that rule, but if you go to any of the gene key chapters, and then after they have talked about the shadow, they mention that there's a repressive nature and a reactive nature of each shadow. So I think the idea is that we have a tendency to generally be more repressive or more reactive, but then we're going to have certain shadows that we have that are reactive and certain shadows that we have that are repressive. So this, like, you can tell how much contemplation this took for this whole system to be created. Like, it's absolutely bonkers. It's so detailed. So what he does is he gives a paragraph for the repressive nature and a paragraph for the reactive nature of each shadow, and then that gives you a really interesting view of the polarity of the shadow that you are in. So when you look at any of your gene keys, you're going to have aspects of the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi active. You're going to have all of it. Um, there's going to be aspects of all of it. So I don't think the best idea to just focus on the shadow. I think it's a good idea to focus on all of it. So focus on how it's true for you that you're in that shadow, that you're in that gift, that you're in that siddhi. So I guess the best thing to do would be to share a repressive nature and a reactive nature of one of your shadows, maybe. Do you want to pick one? Pick a
Yeah,
shadow and repress the shadow.
we've been using my profile, like I say, as an example, so we might as well carry on with that for consistency. Um,
Yeah.
but of course, all we're doing here is using an example, and everyone can do this for themselves with their own profile, of course, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah, I'm happy for you to pick whichever shadow you feel is most appropriate for the Saturn's day. Saturn's all about boundaries and issues like that, control issues, and
Have you had
self
any
discipline and limitation and
have you had any kind of like when you've looked at your gene key free profile, have there been any shadows that you've looked at where you've gone, oh my God, like how is that possible that that's me? You know, are there any that just seem like you don't understand it? Because the repressive nature and the reactive nature do give an insight into that. Because our shadows are suppressed, aren't they? So some of them are going to be like, oh my God, what really? You know, because we've hidden this information from ourselves. So you might not have felt like that when you looked at your chart. Like, did you look at any of them and go, "Oh, is that me?"
I don't. I can't say I've looked at it in enough detail because I've only really been looking at it when we've been doing these nuggets. To be honest, I haven't
Yeah.
taken it offline yet and gone into any depth on it. I will do. It's like human design for me. The gene keys and the human design thing both came along kind of similar times for me, and because I'm so into astrology, I thought, oh, I don't have the sort of space at the moment in my mind to take on another. Because I know me, I'll take it on and start looking at it, and I'll go, ooh, I get all excited about it and go into loads of detail about it and want to know the ins and outs of a cat's ass, on it. So I haven't really yet, no. So I'm happy for you to choose one which you feel might be appropriate for today.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm gonna pick um there's Gene Key 46, which is the shadow of seriousness, the gift of delight, and the city of ecstasy. That sounds like a good one to go for.
It does.
And yeah, I was watching some Richard Rudd videos yesterday, and I found out that he used to be kind of like doing lots of research in the human design community, and he became part of the human design community and loved it, and but felt like he got to a certain point with it, and then he started to expand on what he knew. And this seems to be like quite a common story actually. And he expanded on what he knew and started to create stuff around human design. And then there were members of that community that didn't like that because that was kind of like, they felt that it was spoiling the original thing, or yeah, they didn't like the innovation of him. So he had this difficult journey where he basically got kicked out of that tribe. It's a bit like Bruce Lipton getting kicked out of the science tribe, yeah, because he has different views on DNA and genetics and stuff and physics generally.
Yeah,
I think it's a path.
like a
It's
lot
like,
of these things, they can become kind of dogmatic, can't they? And they
yeah,
start off as an alternative way of looking at something.
yeah,
And everyone in the mainstream says, "Oh, what's this human design thing? What's that all about? That's a load of hippie nonsense." But whatever.
yeah,
And, and then you get all the people joining the human design tribe, as you say, and then they become like what the human design cult. And
yeah,
human design is the best thing, and everything else is rubbish, and nothing else is. It's like it
yeah.
becomes like a religion if you're not careful. So I can feel for Richard in that respect, yeah, because
Yeah, kind of like heresy, isn't it? Like
yeah,
he went on to expand anyway, and this is basically how the gene keys came about. Like he was adding to that system. So the systems run alongside each other. They're just different. They're just different.
yeah,
Yeah, so it was kind of he was complementing that system by building on it. Do you see what I mean? But
I
yeah,
totally do, and I think that's perfectly valid. There's nothing to say that we can't take something that's been there for thousands of years even, and add to it, ourselves with our own understandings and experiences, because I mean I've done that with the Hermetic principles. I'm doing it with the trivium and the quadrivium right now, working on a book called the Pentrivium,
mm,
where we're expanding the ancient liberal arts. Why not? I mean,
yeah,
the Kabbalion was expanded from three Hermetic principles by the three initiates to seven, and
yeah,
I'm just expanding it to 10 or 12. So, yeah, I totally get Richard on this one. And why shouldn't he take something that's inspired him and add to it, And
yeah,
it's not
exactly.
saying, oh, this is good. It's just saying this is great and let's make it even better.
Yeah, and it's interesting how like I guess I've kind of done a similar thing with healing because I've blended I like what I'm about to talk about is how I've blended the gene keys with shadow work, with sometimes the body code, and um, yeah, but like obviously how people go about their healing and their shadow work is up to them. But like let's have a look at this. So one of yours is gene key 46. So this is all about the physiology of the blood. So that's interesting. And the amino acid alanine, and this is part of the ring of matter. So this is the shadow of seriousness, the gift of delight, the city of ecstasy. So at the end of his explanation and description of the shadow, he says that the repressive nature is frigid, the reactive nature is frivolous. So you can see how there's a polarity within the shadow of seriousness. So if you think about any person that you know that is particularly serious, there's kind of like two main different ways where that can be happening. So if you think of frigid and you think of frivolous, they're kind of not even, it seems like they're not even, that's not even going to be the same person, but this is how, what the gene keys are kind of presenting, really. So I'll read that out to you if you like.
Yeah,
So
please, go on.
So regarding seriousness in terms of the repressive nature, frigid. So all repressive natures are in one sense or another frozen. Frigidity here is used not so much in the sexual sense, but in a much broader context to describe the freezing of one's sensuality. These people hide from life out of fear of their own bodies. If you do not like your body, your vital energy turns sour. Such people lose touch with the juiciness of life. You can see this reflected in their lifestyle, clothes, and particularly in their faces, which manifest their fear through a permanently pinched expression. When such people begin to enjoy the beauty of being in their body rather than worrying about what they look like, they release the inner warmth buried deep within, and their whole being begins to thaw. So think about that in relation to the reactive nature of seriousness, which is frivolous. So frivolity is an overreaction to seriousness. These people pretend to really enjoy life, and from the outside they appear to take nothing seriously. However, if you scratch the surface of such a person, you will soon find that they are in fact highly emotionally reactive and harbour a huge amount of anger. This anger will explode sooner or later because these people have an investment in being seen as light-hearted, laid-back and jovial. When the facade is broken, usually when someone is honest with them, they reveal how deadly seriously they actually take life. As a pattern, frivolousness runs away from the truth, and such people usually reflect this in their relationships, which are generally short-lived and numerous. So it's always kind of like quite painful, like reading about one's shadow, but obviously that's not necessarily the way that it's manifesting with you, and you might not be in the shadow anymore. But did any of that like sort of like ring true at all?
Oh yes, definitely my past. Yeah, I would
Mm,
say not at all now. I
mm,
don't feel I'm in any of that shadow nowadays, but I
yeah.
definitely relate to it when I was younger, and
Mm,
particularly in the corporate world. Um, yeah, yeah, like just really acting, putting on an act.
yeah.
Um, and I remember taking work really quite seriously, and like people had come around for a chat at my desk or something, and I'd be kind of, will you go away? I'm trying to work. I'd be really into my work, and I wouldn't even want to stop and talk to anyone. I'd find it a pain in the ass. Um, but we go to the pub at lunchtime, and I'm the one cracking all the jokes and messing around. So um, yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's to me, it's kind of the more immature me.
Mm,
Um, I don't feel like I'm that anymore because I'm living the life I want to live, true to my my real nature, that I've always felt, even though I didn't always have the confidence to express it outwardly. But I feel I really am nowadays, and just being really honest with myself and others about who I am and how I see things, even
Yeah.
if I think they don't like it, it's much better to, be what you are. So yeah, but it definitely relates from when I was younger. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that if people wanted to go towards shadow work or inner child work or working on yourself, whatever way that you do that, and there's no right or wrong way, obviously, just your way, it
Yeah.
gives you more information on how to get your teeth into a shadow, because if you have suppressed that information, you might be in total denial when you first read about your shadows. And
Hmm.
denial is, that's okay. It's just part of the process.
Hmm.
But I think the repressive nature and the reactive nature, knowing that there's these different spins on it, and there's kind of this, most people are on some level on a pendulum swing, kind of swinging from one aspect of that to another, because their body's trying to heal. Their subconscious mind is trying to help them land somewhere. So it's going to both aspects that are active in their frequency. So I think it can just be a signpost, and if you just gently ask yourself the question, how does that apply to me? How am I like that? And then journal it. If you can't see it in yourself, then a good way to be able to see if it is within yourself is to notice if it's in anyone around you. Because the people around you are often showing you reactive natures of their shadows that could be repressed within you. So I think I said recently on one of my shows, if you have lots of angry people around you, but you yourself don't feel particularly angry, and you're kind of judging all these angry people around you, then that's a sure sign that within you have suppressed your anger. So you've, for some reason, got beliefs about anger that it's not acceptable, or that you'll get in trouble if you express your anger, or so it's just a signpost to, if you can't find it within yourself, but your hologenetic profile is showing you that it's there, then look at the repressive nature and the reactive nature for further information on that, because it does sometimes just click into place as soon as you see that. And it is a painful journey because you don't want it to be you. But we've all got them, we've all got the shadows.
Yeah, sure, of
Um,
course we have. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just thinking about the people around me now in my life. Um, well, I can't think of anyone who's particularly angry. Um, I have found, I have found one person in recent times quite quite negative and kind of whinging a lot and moaning a lot about stuff.
Mm.
Um, which which I could see in my younger self as well. Again, I thought, oh, he sounds just like I used to sound when I was in work. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm not really getting any anger stuff. But what was the other one?
Like, is it kind of like complaining, the energy you're noticing in that other person?
Complaining, yeah, but only really in this one person. I don't find everyone around me is complaining. Well,
No.
I mean, most of the people still more in the matrix are obviously complaining about the cost of things and stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't think that's because of the way the matrix is at the moment, I think. But
Well,
no, I'll,
if
I'll give that some more thought, because you never know what might come out now you've pushed the button.
Well, if this person, if it's triggering you that they're complaining, because sometimes people can complain and be negative, and you just notice that they're doing it and it doesn't bother you really. You're just like, oh, look at that. But if it's triggering you, if it's making you want to withdraw from that person and move away from them, back off, back off. If it's a trigger, then that's definitely you. It's you. um, if it feels off and you want to push that away, that that is a sign that that's suppressed within you and that you have pushed it away in quite a
Okay.
literal sense, if you see what I mean. But
Okay.
if
Interesting, because I'm actually meeting him later to go
okay,
shopping, and we're going to have a cup of tea, and yeah, and I kind of feel just a bit sorry for him because I remember
mhm,
feeling that way myself.
yeah,
Uh, and I feel like I want to help him see the
mm,
other side of things. So I've been sort of talking to him and saying, yeah, but if you look at it like this, um, it's not so bad. And, so I think initially when I hadn't seen him for a while, I was initially a bit like, oh, I don't want this negativity in my field kind of thing
yeah,
anymore.
mm,
But since then, I've just been really, I think I've been more compassionate and just trying to help him look at the other side of things. But I don't know, maybe I'm deluding myself, but I don't feel like I want to run away from him. I feel, I wouldn't have said let's go for a cuppa and everything, I think, if I didn't, or if I did, sorry. But
yeah.
who knows? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? There's kind of a fine line, isn't there, with other people? Like it's sometimes difficult to discern. Like, am I learning something by being around this person, or are they just taking away from me with that negative energy? Yeah, it's discernment, isn't it, that we need to figure it out.
Yeah,
Um, have you got Gene Key 9 in yours? I can't remember. That's the Shadow of Inertia. Have you got that one?
I can't remember. I'm gonna have a quick look now because it's
'Cause
in.
if you have, then that could be what your friend is reflecting back to you, but it might not be that.
Right, I think my my profile should be, because it's on my laptop and I'm on my phone at the moment. But I think we shared my profile in the holistic radio thing last time, didn't we? So let me see if I can find it while you're talking. Should
Yeah, and it might be worth sharing um the free profile link as well. I'll do that now. Um,
Yeah, here we go. I've got it. It's here, so I'll forward it again into the chat. So we got it below. There we go.
oh yeah, okay.
Can't see number 9 there.
Oh no, it's 16 that you have. So it might be indifference. Yeah, it might be. Yeah,
It's IQ.
yeah, because indifference is a really tricky one because I've got that one. Like we share a gene key, 16.
16
Um,
says mastery, versatility, indifference. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah, it could be that one. Yeah, so if you look at the shadow of indifference, so that's number 16. The way that that's broken down into repressive and reactive to give more information about that is the repressive nature is gullible and the reactive nature is self-deluded. So it's really interesting how we can often see these kind of things in other people, but we can't see them in ourselves sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the repressive nature of gullible, so when indifference is repressed, it manifests as gullibility. So these people become victims of the mass propaganda of the collective. An example here is people who use the excuse that if governments cannot help the world situation, how can they? This gullibility essentially allows people to hide their indifference behind the indifference of others. At the deepest level, this gullibility fosters individual weakness and a feeling of powerlessness. Every time you turn on the news on television, for example, you meet this huge negative conditioning field. How you respond to this field determines your frequency. The response of the repressive nature is to bury your head in the sand in the belief that nothing can be done. Yeah, so I really identify with that.
Okay.
like I am trying to do stuff. Do you know what I mean? I am trying to help, but then sometimes I get the pendulum swing and swing back into powerlessness again. So it's like I'm powerless, I'm powerful, I'm powerless, I'm powerful. But it's just a case of keeping on going with it.
Yeah.
The reactive nature is self-deluded. So the nature of indifference actually makes it impossible for a person to react. So the reactive nature in this instance appears to be something of a misnomer. These people hide their fear in their obsession with structure, systems, and techniques. They become so deeply identified with the structures their minds are following that they forget about the reason for the structure in the first place. This gives rise to a deep self-delusion in which these people build powerful mental walls around themselves, keeping the world and others locked out. In a certain sense, these people are also gullible like the repressive nature, but their gullibility concerns their own propaganda rather than anyone else's. They are convinced by their own minds. However, behind their mental walls seethes a huge anger that is far from indifferent and which will eventually destroy them unless they can see through their own self-delusion. So yeah, I can identify with that one as well.
Yeah. So would you say my calendar is an example of that then?
um,
Like structure this that I'm holding on to as something that I think makes sense, but no one else, or it doesn't to anyone else in the mainstream, maybe, and I'm deluding myself that that's the answer to things.
no, because I don't think you're dogmatic about it. I don't think you're like kind of in a similar way. I probably have been like that in the past with my healing work. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the
Hmm.
only way.
Yeah.
Like people are with religion sometimes, like we're right and everyone else is wrong.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, I think your calendar and the way that you're looking at things with your deacons and everything, I think it's the way. And I think what I'm doing with self-healing, I think it's the way. But like, there are other ways. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just a case of here's a solution, and there are many others. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not, I think it's a cling, 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 isn't it? Like when you go over the top, like I think this self-delusion thing here, like you can see when someone else outside of you is building mental walls around themselves and they're basically punching themselves in the face. Like you can see them setting themselves up on a loop. But
Hmm.
like you can't necessarily see yourself doing that.
Yeah.
But if you can see someone else doing that, it's likely that you're also doing that because you're seeing it outside of you.
Hmm.
Uh,
I can't think of anyone right now, but again, I'll give it some thought. It's very
yeah.
interesting. Yeah, and
Yeah.
on what you just said, I think with the synchronometer, my main thing is trying to, I guess, get people to see about breaking free from the thing everyone's trapped in already, rather than it's. I always say you don't have to adopt my thing. Just try anything else that's different to the one you're in now. you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, it doesn't have
It,
to be this one, but here's an example of one. But
it's
there
kind
are others. Yeah,
it kind of makes me think of like I think you're quite realistic because you've explained the Kali Yuga and like how much time has gone by and how much time we got ahead of us. And it's kind of like David Icke, isn't it, in the 80s on Terry Wogan. He knew he was right, but he was speaking to the masses that were like not where he was. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah, and so
it's
much of what he
that. Like
said back then come to pass, right? So much of it.
everyone like en masse projected self-delusion onto him, didn't they? They were like, this guy's mental,
Yeah,
this guy
yeah.
needs to be locked up or whatever. But like here we are kind of however many years later. And was he deluded? Some people still think he was, and in some ways maybe, but
Not at
yeah,
all.
I think it's
So
just
sorry, yeah, so much of what he's said has actually happened.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. So
so that's either because he's an agent and he knew it was all planned all along, or he was genuinely having a spiritual awakening and can see what was coming based on how he saw the system working.
Yeah.
Take your pick, whichever of those you think is right, or another one. But yeah,
Yeah.
I've certainly
Well, this is
been
it. Like,
and followed
I
his
don't
word.
know. I kind of, I'm very kind of like up and down at the moment myself, and it's like whenever you kind of land in truth, when you're kind of thinking in an advanced way or whatever, you end up seeing that there are anomalies, and then there's like you never like the more you know, the less you know, and like I'm kind of like getting stuck in this. I think I know something, and then I'm being shown evidence to the contrary, and it's kind of like, oh, I just feel like throwing it all up in the air, and you know that this shadow is one of mine, which is
Yeah,
actually called magical genius. I like the way it's called magical genius, and it's in the ring of prosperity. But I think
that's
it
good.
ultimately just leads you back to surrender, doesn't it? Like
Mm,
when you realize that you are building walls around yourself, that maybe you can't see that you're doing that, but if you were, how would you be doing that? Like you can always find them.
yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, the point that I want to make to everybody is, if you want to go on a self-healing journey, this is all out there for free, and it's basically what you've chosen. I would say it's you. It's you. It feels like it's you, but actually, again, on that video that I saw yesterday, Richard Rudd was very clear to say your free profile, like the 11 gene keys that are on your hologenetic profile, it's not what you are. It's not about identifying with that and going, that's me. It's about seeing it as your curriculum, which it makes
yeah,
it really clear actually, because if somebody had the same birthday as you, then they would have a very similar chart. Like I've got my friend in Belgium, who's got the same birthday as me, and she's a couple of years older than me, but our charts are quite similar.
right.
But if you have like two people born on the same day, maybe in a very similar location, they would have a very, very extremely similar chart. But that just reflects that they both like chose into a similar set of circumstances. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they could actually, as souls, be very, very different to each other. And it's about how this is the Gene Keys journey. It's about how you take the journey. It's not really about who you are. Like it's a map of your life and it's a curriculum, but it's not like this is you. I think maybe
no,
in the past I've said, yeah, it feels like me. That's me. If I identify with all those shadows, and which doesn't make sense to do because it's all temporary anyway, and it's all ever changing and evolving.
yeah.
Um,
I like what you said there about it being a curriculum from Richard's video, because that makes a lot of sense to me. Because especially because it's not a linear sequential thing, is it? You jump in and out of all of these things many times round and round throughout your life, right?
yeah,
Um, Not like you do this gene key first, then you go to that one, then you do that one. They're all on the circle around. You jump, you go in and out of them, don't you? So I like the fact that a curriculum makes sense, because you can look at this textbook for a while, or you can read that, study that topic for a while, and ultimately you get your degree. But you don't have to do it all in the same way as someone else with the same curriculum, right? You might
yeah,
choose. They might be looking at history today, and you might be looking at maths or whatever.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I know quite a few sets of identical twins, right? And like
Mm.
they're not really like each other at all, any of them. And like this is crazy, right? In my year at school, there were three sets of identical twins, and they were all born on the same day in the same hospital. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
The
Like
chances of that. What?
that?
So all there were three sets of twins, and they were all born on
All
the
like
same day in the same place.
yeah, all born in the same hospital in the
That's
same place.
nuts.
Yeah,
What are the chances? What are the
yeah.
chances of that, eh? As Ariel would
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, they weren't all identical. Two of them were identical, but the other set of twins was a boy and a girl.
But they're
But yeah, there
still
were two boys, two
identical.
girls.
I'm sorry, they're still twins, aren't they? So born on the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know any of those people anymore, but like since I've looked into all of this stuff and looked back at that, it's like, what are the chances of that? And they will all have like really, really similar curriculums, but none of those people will really like each other at all. Even the
No,
twins each other.
it's like they've got the same set of challenges to overcome throughout their life, but the way they do that and the timing of it is completely different for each of them, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Well,
Um, Yeah, so basically, you can use this information for your own healing in whatever way that you want to do that, and it's kind of just a signpost. This is what I've chosen to work on in this life. And
yeah,
if you are having trouble with identifying that within yourself, the repressive nature and the reactive nature can show you. It can just show you in a very clear way when you're ready, and you don't
yeah.
have to force yourself, obviously.
You don't have to
But
what? Sorry.
you don't have to force yourself to reconcile all this stuff. Like you're just ready when you're ready anyway. And
Yeah, I don't think. I think forcing is part of the problem, isn't it? When we try and force ourselves to do something.
yeah, it's about
Yeah.
contemplation. This whole system anyway.
I mean,
Um,
that's what the Matrix does, isn't it? It forces people to do things often against their will or better judgment, because of the way it's set up. Uh, you know, so yeah, I think the last thing we want to do is put that force pressure on ourselves as well.
yeah, and I think that sometimes people do try to force healing because I know I have in the past, but the key to it all is to just allow it to all be messy and difficult and broken sometimes. And yeah, if we can contemplate, I really do think that's the best energy.
Yeah, just
Um,
on that point, something's just popped into my mind when you said that. I often used to. I'm a terrible picker. I pick my nails. Let's be honest, I pick my nose. Okay, I admit it. I mean, who doesn't, right? Or
mm,
maybe you don't, but I do. I'm honest about that. I pick my nose. I pick my nails. I pick my toenails. And I was terrible for picking scabs off. Um, and your body's healing, right? And it's put this lovely scab over there, and it's not quite done. And then you go and pick it all off, and it's like, oh, what are you doing? Just wait, dude. It was nearly healed. It's like I'm now better at waiting until the scab falls off. But it's interesting to me from what you've just said that I've often been very impatient for things to heal. So that's quite
mm.
psychologically interesting, isn't it?
Well, I think that just makes sense. I mean, I've had a touch of that, and I still do. It's like, really, right, I've still got this, and even though that we know the nature of it all is that we're on a spiral, and there's divine timing as well, and maybe we think we've got free will, but actually we haven't. I don't know. There's loads going on, and yeah, contemplation is just a way of helping yourself understand yourself.
Yeah. Do you
Um,
think do you think the notion of us having free will is a kind of mass self delusion?
Yeah, I kind of do. Uh,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
because I think that I think a lot of people, a lot of the masters of the universe have been asked this question, do we have free will or is it all kind of determined? But for example, Richard Rudd would answer both. Both are true.
Mm. Yeah. I would agree
And
with that. Yeah.
I tend to think the same. Yeah, yeah. Like when we're doing our shadow work and we're doing our healing and we're intentionally working on stuff and we think that that's because we've done it or like we've chosen to do that. We think that we've
Mm.
chosen to do that, but what if we were guided to do that? And we think we're the doers, don't we? But we're not the doers. So if we're not the doers, then anything that we do, like I think anything that we do is just when we're not in alignment, it's
Mm.
because our doing is coming through a filter of a shadow.
Yeah. And actually, what
Um,
we are is the witnesses, right? We're
We're
the
the
witness.
correcting. Yeah, we are. Yeah, yeah.
Like
We're
in
the
the 12 Monkeys, we're the witness. of the journey. We're not the doer. We're not the maker of the journey. We're the witness of the thing following the journey. You know?
Yeah, and if we can remember to be the witness and stop being kind of like megalomaniacs and trying to control everything, then
Yeah.
we probably would kind of accelerate. Yeah, it's a
Well,
tricky
that's a
one.
great for now. That's a great point to end this rather big nugget, Jen, because um, you know it's Saturn's day today, and as you may know, Saturn's all about seven. It's the seventh planet out from the Earth in terms of speed.
Mm.
Um, it's all about the boundaries. You know, this is why it's synonymous with the 7 day slaving day week system. It's all about the boundaries and the physical manifestation of things, the crystallization of the soul. It's about self-discipline, being devil's advocate, um, limitation, restriction, um, yeah, boundary and control issues. So I think it's a great day actually to be talking about all the stuff that we've just been talking about, um, and self-discipline and everything. So I think you also wanted to do some stuff about the lines, right?
Yeah, I don't have to do that today, but I've got some information I could share to the channel about that actually, and it's kind of self-explanatory just looking at it, so I probably don't
So you
need
don't
to.
think, sorry, so you don't think that's another nugget then?
Um, it could be another nugget. Yeah, if you'd like to.
All right, so maybe we draw this big nugget to a close for now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then we'll
Okay.
see about possibly doing a part six on the lines.
Yeah.
Because I know you can share stuff and read, but I know personally I'd much rather listen to someone chatting about something, and you know,
Yeah.
than read a lot of stuff because there's so
Same
much to
here.
read these days. Yeah, it's nice to
Yeah.
just hear
Sometimes.
some voices. And yeah,
Yeah. Sometimes we need other people to inspire that in us, you know. And
yeah.
if we use either your chart or my chart to look at the lines,
Hmm.
um, then that helps as well when someone knows what they're looking at. Uh,
All right. Well, let's do that then. So
yeah.
thanks, Jen. That's been really good. Um,
Yeah, thank
and
you.
it's always good for me selfishly because we're looking using my chat as an example. So it
Mhm.
always makes me think, oh yeah, maybe I need to look at that again. So yeah, good stuff. Um, so anything else you want to say to finish up?
Not really. I mean, basically, the lines are the third digit, so the number after it seems like there's a decimal point there, and the
Yeah.
lines are basically just how is that
All right.
information? You know,
So
it's
we'll
a extra dimension, if you see what I mean. Yeah.
all right. Well, we'll look at that extra dimension in probably what will be the sixth and last for now anyway, Gene
Mm.
Key Nugget. So thank you
Yeah.
so much, Jen,
Yeah.
for all of that, sharing
Thank
that with
you.
us. Thanks, of course, to Andy, Zen Pagan in the Dale, and his lovely holistic radio platform, as always. But for now, this is Litmus A Freeman. The A stands for anarchy in the true sense of the word. And we'll be back soon with another knowledge nugget.